Hello again, Philos 71. Welcome to part 2 of my response to your video 5 questions every intelligent atheist must answer. Question 4. How did morals evolve? You said in your video that the evolution argument for morality is suggesting that there is something in us that is self-consciously aware of the process of evolution, that understands what the goal of evolution is, survival of our own species, and instructs us through our conscience to fulfill the optimal conditions for that survival. This is an incorrect induction that you have made. That is not what the evolution argument for morality is saying. The evolution argument for morality is based on self-interest, not altruism. So it is an argument that morality is helpful to the survival of the individual, not of the species. But on the macroscopic scale of natural history, it translates to survival of the species, as all adaptations do. You were probably wanting to ask how morality is helpful to my survival. Isn't it more beneficial to me to kill my competition or steal from them? As I said in my answer to question 3, having a social network of family and friends is more beneficial to me than facing life's challenges alone. The matter of stealing and murdering versus cooperating is a question of short-term gain versus long-term consequences. Immoral behavior may benefit me in the short term, but the long-term effects would be detrimental to my survival. It is not enough that I alone benefit from the relationships in my social network. My family and friends must also benefit. In biology, this is called a symbiotic relationship. More specifically, it is called a mutualism. There are other types of symbiotic relationships as well. A parasitism is a relationship where one organism benefits to the detriment of the other. A familiar example of this is the mosquito. What do you do when you see a mosquito on your arm? Like most people, you probably smack it. Figuratively speaking, being a parasite means running the risk of getting smacked. Concerning your caveman example, if caveman 1 kills caveman 2 in cold blood, I would not expect him to feel guilty about it. Anyway, the point is moot, because whether caveman 1 realizes it or not, the fact that cooperating with caveman 2 might have yielded more benefits than killing him does not change. If, on the other hand, caveman 1 is a rational animal, as we humans have obviously evolved to be, then perhaps caveman 1 has some motive for killing caveman 2. So let's put the example into the context of a particular scenario. Suppose caveman 1 spent his whole day hunting, but he is returning to his village empty-handed. On his way back to the village, he crosses paths with caveman 2, and notices that he has had a successful hunt and is dragging his kill behind him. Caveman 1 would like to take some of the meat back to his village. So he can either engage caveman 2 in some form of dialogue, perhaps offering something in trade, or he can attack caveman 2, killing him and stealing the meat. In his classic treatise on warfare, The Art of War, the legendary Chinese general Sun Tzu said, "Ultimate excellence lies not in winning the battle, but in defeating the enemy without ever fighting." If caveman 1 successfully negotiates for a part of caveman 2's kill, then he has achieved the same end that fighting caveman 2 would have, except that he did it with less energy and with less risk to life and limb. He also gets the added benefit of having expanded his social network, which he would not have gotten if he had attacked caveman 2 instead. But why would caveman 2 want to share his kill with caveman 1? Perhaps he wouldn't. But if he did, caveman 1 would surely be in debt to him. Now I suppose that none of my arguments concerning morality would apply if the reason why caveman 1 killed caveman 2 was because he was worshipping the wrong god. Question 5. Can nature generate complex organisms, in the sense of originating it, when previously there was none? That seems to be the argument that proponents of intelligent design are making. As such, I don't see how it is a question for atheists. As I understand it, there is an overwhelming consensus in the scientific community that life on Earth evolved from simpler forms of life. I find it quite telling the way you chose to phrase this question. You asked if nature could generate complex organisms. Therefore, I fail to see what this question has to do with God either. Indeed, even if intelligent design is correct, and complex forms of life sprang forth from non-living matter in their current forms, There still has to be a naturalistic scientific explanation for how this happened. Saying God did it doesn't tell us how He did it, and what naturalistic processes He employed. As a Christian, you would probably say that the laws of chemistry and physics were authored by God. Why, then, can it not also be said of evolution, that it is God's method? Why is it necessary to attempt to refute evolution in order to salvage your faith? It seems to me that intelligent design supporters are so preoccupied with challenging a scientific theory that offends their dogmatic beliefs, that they never realize the massive void it would create in the collective knowledge of humankind, if they could be successful in debunking the theory. They never bother to propose a testable alternative hypothesis. Philos, I find it quite hypocritical that you would claim scientific evidence for the existence of God in one video, while casually dismissing a well-established scientific theory in this one, and then not troubling yourself to provide an alternative scientific explanation of the Earth's natural history. In your video you used the example of an Albrecht Dürer woodcut print to demonstrate the concept of intelligent design. This is similar to the classic pocket watch analogy made by William Paley, or the argument that a painting has a painter. The reason why the analogy fails is because the difference between non-living inanimate objects like paintings and pocket watches, and living organisms, is that the non-living objects cannot grow, reproduce, mutate, and evolve. That is the key difference. That is why it can be said that pocket watches and woodcut prints are intelligently designed, while life is acknowledged to have evolved. Finally, I'd like to answer the very last question in your video. You asked at the very end if I wanted you to believe in my worldview. There isn't anything I want you to believe. I want you to have your religion and practice it, if that's what makes you happy. What I do want, though, is to be left alone and not have Christians try to proselytize me or save my soul. What I do want is for religious dogmas to stop affecting public policy. What I do want is for people to keep their religion and politics separate, because the effect of this is that your religious beliefs are being forced upon others. What I do want is to keep science from being corrupted by religious fundamentalists, and for children to be educated in the theories that have withstood the scrutiny of the scientific method for well over a century. What I do want is for people to stop killing each other and invading each other's countries based on the righteous pretensions that their religions afford them. If the world I live in will see all of these things come to pass in my lifetime, then you can believe whatever you want to, for all I care. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.